have a great interview here today with one of our licensees who's been out there in the field actually doing the real work. That is what you would be doing if you joined us as an ABS licensee and wanted to start your own medical billing business. You know, a lot of people are on this webinar who are looking for a business. There's lots of them out there on the webinar. Well, the interwebs, as my grandson calls it, and there's just lots to learn about lots of different businesses. So I hope you're here to learn about the business. As you can see, somewhere on the control box that you found there for this GoToWebinar software that downloaded on your computer, if you will just find the question box, it may have a little triangle next to it, a little arrow that you have to click to open it. But once you do, you can get in there and type something in. And I see Lorenzo has already done that. Thank you, Lorenzo. There's Jessica. She's typing in that she's present. And Zorona, good, thank you. Ken, Rosalind, thank you. Hey, Steve, this is live. I told you it was live because I'm calling out your first names here, aren't I? Brock, thank you. Corey, good. Well, that just tells me that you're actually hearing the sound of my voice, and that's good. So we're going to get started. Yeah. Let me get started here by introducing myself. My name is Patrick Phillips. I'm the founder and the CEO of American Business Systems. And we've been doing this for about 25 years now. So if you're just now getting on our webinar, you're just a little late. Well, no, actually, you're right at the right time, because people who start this business get out there and start a medical revenue management business, or some people refer to it as medical billing, but ours is much more than that. So we call it medical revenue management. The point is, it's a great business to be in, and you'll find that out today as we talk with Jade about how she started her business, and you'll be able to ask questions live. So that's why I wanted you to go to the question box so you would know where it's at. And I see Anthony has typed something in. Shannon, thank you. Hello, Wade, good. All right, well, we got many more people pouring into the room here, so let's just move right along. Here's what we've been doing for 25 years. First of all, let me just introduce myself again. I'm the chairman of the board of MIRMA. MIRMA is the Medical Revenue Management Association of America, and you can go check them out on their website there. I'm also a member of the editorial board of Billing and Coding Advantage magazine. Now, that's a print magazine. Yes, they still print magazines, and this one has 40,000 subscribers. It's people who are just involved in the medical billing business, and I write articles for that magazine as well. This one is just a slide showing that there's supposed to be text up here. I'll just put in the text that was supposed to be there. There we go. I'm an author, yeah. And you'll find some of my books out there on Amazon.com and at your local bookstores. We'll talk more about those as a marketing tools for our licensees here just a bit later. Basically, folks, we have an entire system set up, ready to go. It's like a franchise. It's a business opportunity license, we call it. We license you to use all of our software programs. As you can see, there's a bunch of them there that allow you to provide these services for doctors. Now, each one of them provides some income for you and for us as a company. So it's a mutual partnership that happens when you become a licensee of AB Systems. Basically, you're going to be doing the doctors, and you're going to be managing them, and you can also set up an electronic medical record system for them or switch them to ours if they don't have one already. Now, this is a cloud-based system, so it's not like software is sent to you on a CD. That's kind of 1980-ish, right? It's not like it goes into your computer and sits on your hard disk, because that's very dangerous from a HIPAA standpoint, you know, a privacy of the patient data. So you wouldn't want that. It's in the cloud, and that means we have servers in various parts of the country that basically are redundant, meaning if one went down completely, we've got the one you know, in another part of the country that just kicks right on and you never know it. So it's a cloud-based system, meaning you can run it from any type of computer, Windows or Mac or Chromebook, if you have a Chromebook, from any device, tablets, iPhones, iPads. It doesn't matter as long as you have an internet connection. And of course, you'll have a browser that you go to the browser, type in the address of where our system is. You'll have some credentials that you have to type in to be able to get in. And once you're in, it's HIPAA compliant, meaning everything that you're putting into the data is conforms with all the rules and regulations that the government set up for patient data privacy. It's also backed up, of course, nightly off-site into another location. And so it's very, very private. Folks, in 25 years, we just haven't had a problem with anything as far as the data is concerned. In fact, this is what all the banks do, all the insurance companies, so it's not like it's brand new. And you can check us out at the Better Business Bureau if you want to, just to find out that we, after 25 years, have an A+ rating. That's the best you can get there. And if you want to come actually visit us here in Fort Worth, you're welcome to do that. Yes, we just moved into some brand new office suites here in this building in South Lake, Texas. And so you're welcome to just call us up, say, hey, I'd like to come visit you. We'll set all that up with you, arrange for you to be picked up if you're flying in, and we'll show you around and talk to you and then just visit with you and answer all your questions if you'd like to just come visit with us. All right. Now, every once in a while, I, as the CEO of the company, like to interview the actual licensees who've gone through our training. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that a little bit later in the webinar. Really, we're not here to sell you anything today. What we're here is to inform you and let you ask the questions to somebody who's actually in this business. Now, let that sink in for a moment. Those of you who found the question box, you're able to type in questions to someone who's gone through the due diligence that you're going through on us as a company and this industry. She actually came down here to Dallas and went through one of our live training workshops. We do those trainings virtually now over the internet. It's a lot easier and quicker for everybody. And she has been experiencing the growth of her company, how all the marketing works, and the support, of course, that she gets from ABS. So let's see if she's still back there behind the scenes. We were talking earlier. She had her camera on. So Jade, welcome to our webinar today. Thanks for joining me.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Hello, everybody. Glad to be here.
I talked to you earlier that you're actually working out of what you think of as your dining room office.
Yes, that is exactly right. I have a regular office that I work out of too, but I guess the idea behind ABS, which is wonderful, is that you can work from anywhere. And sometimes the dining room is my office. Other times it could be another city, but today it's my dining room, and it's wonderful because I have the windows open, the fresh air coming through. It's beautiful today.
That's now, what part of the country are you in? I forgot to ask.
I'm in Ohio, so we're enjoying a sunny and mid-70s day today. It's wonderful.
Wow, that is terrific. Well, we may not hit 100 here in Texas today. That's a good day for us here at the end of August. So, well, Jade, thank you for taking time. I know you're busy. I know you got lots of going on in your business, but I know a lot of people come on these interview webinars because they want to find out, what are you doing? How are you doing it? How did you get started? Let's start way back when you first came through the training. What were you doing at that time from a vocational standpoint?
Well, at that time, I was actually working in the family businesses, which has nothing to do with the healthcare industry. It was actually in manufacturing, and wanted to get out of that situation, have for a long time. So has my husband. We just wanted to be free of being in a factory space, 8 to 5, be able to be here more for our family and support, be able to support our family better in a more flexible way. There are many other factors, but that is what I was doing at the time. I was also being an interim gym teacher for about a year for my kids at their school because they needed one. So you can see I was doing nothing with healthcare at the time. But if it's okay, I'll just go ahead and tell you why I got into ABS, if that's what
Please.
You're leading into. Okay.
I know people are always interested in that because you could have chosen from dozens of businesses, hundreds of businesses that are out there. So why this industry?
That is exactly right. One thing, we knew that we wanted to change industries. We wanted a few factors specifically in what we were going to do with our new career. And so I started a spreadsheet. I'm just that way when it comes to something or a problem I need to solve, or, helping my kids decide what college they want to go to, whatever it is, I pull out a spreadsheet and I compare. And I sat there and compared what kind of career would allow me to work from anywhere. And that was number one for me because I wanted my kids just this year, I have a freshman and sophomore in college. So I knew eventually I would want to be able to travel to see our children anytime I wanted, as well as enjoy some other adventures as new empty nesters, be able to travel maybe for a month or two at a time and still be able to work and not affect my career. So that was one of the big factors. Another is the ability to not have a cap on our income. I didn't want to have a business where I'm, having to service someone, maybe an appointment every hour or something like that, because it sort of puts a cap on your earnings and how much you can really earn. And I don't want a cap. I want the sky to be the limit. There are many other factors that were involved. And those are the two biggest ones for me. I'd love to get into the spreadsheet, but that's a whole nother, that's another tangent. But basically what it comes down to is that in that spreadsheet, that row with ABS and medical billing kept winning. I felt like I was a little nervous because I didn't know anything about the medical industry, but it was hitting all those other factors. And then once I started speaking with my representative at ABS, once I touched base with ABS and I had a person who I was working with, a sales rep, if you will, they started reassuring me that you don't have to have a background in medical billing. And I was still nervous. I kind of just didn't believe it. I did a few things. One, I did a surprise trip to Texas, which isn't really recommended because anybody wants to have a heads up, but I still did it because I thought this is too good to be true. And I went down there and they really do exist and everything was great. That was even before I went down for training. I had a wonderful rep that I spoke with, that I worked with, that reassured me all the way through. And then finally, I just decided I would make the leap of faith. I thought if they have this laid out with proper training, and of course I was able to speak with other licensees, just like you're all able to speak with me today. But I thought if they're willing to do the training and they have this laid out for me, I'm the type of person that where there's a will, there is a way, and I can make it work. And so I took that leap of faith, and boy, am I ever glad that I did. It was a wonderful decision. I wish I had done it 10 years ago instead of 5 years ago is when I first started my training. So that's how I ended up there, and I'm so happy.
Thank you for that. That's a great story. Some details I had not heard. For example, the fact that you have a couple of kids going to college. I would have thought you just graduated from college just looking at you. So,
thank you. I love you.
So obviously, this business has not grayed you that quickly, unless you color your hair, of course, and it's not gotten your wrinkles in there.
I'll never tell.
Well, Jade, that's fantastic. I do appreciate the fact that you had all the other businesses that you could have chosen, and you chose us for, like you said, probably many other reasons besides what you shared here today. But that's a good one, to stay involved, let your family get involved if you want to. I tell people we're a family-based business, and we're one of the few families that can work together without killing each other. So
right.
That's a good thing. All right, so I see some questions coming in, so I'm going to address some of those if that's okay, Jade. These are actual people who are on here live wanting to ask you things. So let me see if I can read these. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit on my computer so I can see these questions. They're real tiny in this box here. Well, here's just a question from Zorona, just in general. It's a very general one, but it says, did you find the ABS system easy to follow? Give us a little feel for the training that you went through and what you got out of that, and how that relates to how easy or hard the system is to follow.
Well, it's a great system to follow. ABS has done the work with the training to get it completely laid out in a fashion that I don't want to say cookie cutter, because you have flexibility to branch off of the business model, which is what's really nice and flexible about it, for you to be able to service your clients. But basically, the system is really great to use. It's laid out. As far as the training goes, the first phase, I'll call it, which is your initial training session. They have it laid out. ABS has it laid out into several different categories that you go through, different subjects pertaining to this career. And they give you a complete fresh start with showing you exactly what you need to do, what plan to follow. They don't just give you the tools and say, go ahead. They give you an actual plan with it on how to do it and to follow this plan. And I found when I left training, I said to myself, I can either take these things with a grain of salt and go try some of them, or I can do exactly what they laid out for me. And if I don't do exactly what ABS laid out for me, then I certainly can't complain that it didn't work later. So I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. And so I completely followed the plan that ABS gave me in the training. And now here I am today, 5 years later. And I feel we're doing very well and successful. I know too, a lot of people, successful is a relative term. I'll tell you, I'm not making $1 billion, but I will tell you that someday I will. And right now my husband and I are both able to make this income as well as employ others and have kids in college and pay our bills and travel. And we're living the dream right now. It's what we've always dreamed of. And ABS helped us to make that happen. And so I can't stress enough that the ABS system is easy enough to work with, that you definitely don't need the background ahead of time. And as long as you put your mind to it and you follow the plan, you can definitely do it. Absolutely.
I get some comments in this question box sometimes, Jade. One of them here from Alan is, sounds like you paid her a lot of money for this. No, we don't. Now, I've been known to give a nice gift here and there for people who take time out to do this for us, because Jade, you're really your own business. It's your business and you're the owner. It's your time. It has nothing really to do with ABS, although we make a few pennies on some of the services that you offer. It's not like a franchise, is it?
It's not like a franchise. I don't give any of my money to ABS whatsoever. As you know, Patrick, I'm saying that for everybody else that's watching, but I don't give a dime to ABS. If there's any money that they're making, it would be through, like he said, some of the software features and things like that. But that's what I love, because we did look into the franchising business as well. And we found several things. It's a very expensive startup. You have to be rich to start one, I feel like. And we just didn't have that kind of cash. We didn't want to spend our kids' college money, those types of things. So that was appealing, as well as after you start the business, that you're not giving any percentage to ABS of your income. It's all of your income. And you have complete control of how much money you earn and how big you get. I am someone who, I've known other licensees who set up these beautiful offices. They hire a dozen people or more, and they're doing incredibly well. My husband and I have decided that we don't want that. I had mentioned we want the freedom to travel. So we run our offices remotely and out of our home, and it works just fine. It works very well. And we are stingy. We don't want to share with too many people. So some people say, oh, you don't want to get too big. Well, we feel like we're doing pretty well with just us and the few employees that we have, and we're doing great. So you can decide what kind of a business you want to set up, how big you want to get in terms of how many employees and the income that you're making. But otherwise, the sky is the limit to your income, and you don't have to share it with anyone, with the exception, obviously, of your partner or your employees.
Boy, I need to hire you as the spokesperson for this company, Jade. That was great.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
all unpracticed, unrehearsed, unprompted. Folks, this is as real as it gets right here. You're hearing from somebody that, again, just made the choice that you are thinking about making of going into business for yourself with ABS. And as you can see, she's pretty happy about it, seems like. So
Very.
Let's see, here is a good one here. Oh, this is from Marcus. I'm just going to address it because it's real simple. He says, hello, good evening. Does the system that you and your business offer work here in Norway, Finland, and Sweden? Those are the countries that I usually visit and work in. Well, they would if you had doctors that were in the United States, because it's a American medical billing system that works, through our system here. Every country has a different system, I'm sure, but you could certainly run it from those countries as long as you had clients over here, and you might even do that by hiring sales reps. Jade, have you ever thought about doing sales reps, hiring them or use them?
I have, actually. In fact, I've partnered with other licensees as well, and I'll get into that for a second. But I just want to rewind a little bit and say that I recently have been working with another licensee who's working from London, and he has partnered with me for another service that I provide, which we could talk about later, which is credentialing. But my point is, just like Patrick said, if you have doctors in the United States that you can work for, if you have sales reps that can go out and get you the accounts for the United States, You can work from anywhere. The main thing is you need an internet connection, you need a phone, so a good earpiece, kind of like these AirPods, what are they called? AirPods that I'm wearing.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. As long as you have good sound, a good internet connection, and your computer, you're able to work from anywhere. It's just that knowing that your clients, the healthcare providers, will be based in the United States on the American billing system.
Right.
And then I was about to get into what was it? Beyond that, there was something I was leading up to. I guess that was it. I'll think of it.
Yeah. Wow. So he's in London. This is one of your clients in London for the credentialing service.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's correct.
That's fantastic. Well, that's the great thing about this. You can build it as big as you want. It can go international. It doesn't matter because it's your business. It's not ours. We don't have any quotas that you have to meet each month or anything like this. It's not like a franchise where there's territories or royalties that you pay. Like you said, you don't pay anything to us once you've gone through our training, and yet we continue to support you, don't we?
Absolutely. We have a phone number that I can call. I'm an emailer because I'm always busy on the phone. So if I'm on hold, I can sit there and email. So there's an email address that you can write to, and I usually get a response same day. There's a very good support system. There's also a network, which to me is the best resource, is all of the other licensees. I knew that there was something else I was supposed to be getting into, but it's the sales rep side. I started to talk about how we all partner together. But I partner with other licensees, for example, in the sales side, which is what we just started to talk about. I do not like doing the sales. I've done it. When I first started this business, I was out there pounding pavement, knocking on doors, holding seminars on educational materials for the healthcare industry. I was doing everything I could to get those customers, but I will tell you, I do not like that side of it at all. It's just not my personality to do sales. And so I wanted to hire salespeople, but then I started to talk and network with other licensees that actually said they don't like the billing side. It scares them and they don't want to do that, but they love sales. And so we've started a partner, and I have a few that will do the sales side, send me the business, and I'll do all the work. And we come to an agreement as to whether it's going to be split 50-50. Each agreement is different with each licensee. But that is something that I do. So yes, to answer your question with sales reps, I think that's a huge one. And oftentimes you can find other licensees that are willing to help you find that business if you're willing to do the work. And again, on that flip side, if you have that interest in sales and you do not want to do the medical billing side, you can make a great business off of bringing in the accounts and not doing anything after that. There are plenty of licensees that would like to have that work. So even just in our inner circle, there's a great support system. I sort of started to bring up, so I'll just go ahead and get into it briefly. And Patrick, you can stop me if I'm getting off track, but one of those things that we partner for is I do credentialing. And I mentioned the business is very flexible, and you can you can branch off of it and provide other services as they're relevant to your client. And one of those that I came across is credentialing. Your healthcare providers, if you're a patient and you want to go see a doctor, most of the time with your insurance, you need to go see one that's in your network, or else the insurance company is just not going to pay for that. Well, that's what credentialing is. I help healthcare providers get in network with insurance companies. I learned that there was a need for that. There was hardly anyone doing that in the field. And so I said, well, I'm going to do it myself and charge the client for it. I figured it out. Now, I don't want to make that sound easy, because I will tell you it was many all-nighters and months, and now still years I'm learning about it and everything. So it's not a walk in the park, but I found a niche. I learned how to do it. And now I offer that service to other licensees. And either they can hire me to do it and I charge them, or what mostly happens is they'll hire me and then I pay them a commission for bringing me that account. So they say, Jade is my credentialing partner. She works for me on my billing team, and she's my credentialing person. And I do that credentialing, and I give them the commission, so they don't have to do any of the work. They just score money just because they brought me the account. So it's just another way where licensees can work together and partner up and support each other and bring each other new opportunity.
A perfect example there, Jade, of how this business is your business. You took it in that direction because that was something you thought, well, maybe I can offer that and make money off of that. We've had licensees start up all kinds of different services for doctors once they get in this business uh, because they're creative and it's open. It's not like restricted in any way. So I know you've done a lot
True.
of credentialing for a lot of our licensees, and some of them have really just been very thankful that they had somebody who did want to do that because it's not an easy thing to learn. In fact,
Right.
Jade, I probably never told you this, but we had a licensee. This has been several years ago, and he was an older guy, and he was out talking to a doctor, just maybe one of the first one or two he'd signed up. And he said, the doctor asked, "Well, do you do credentialing?" And he said, "Patrick, I literally looked right in the eye, not having a clue what he was talking about, and said, well, let me check with my team back at the office." Because that's what we teach licensees to say when they're asked about something
Yes.
they don't know. We are their team. They got back. He got back with us. We told him what it was all about. Put him in contact with you or somebody, and they did the credentialing for that doctor, and he made money on it, and he signed the doctor up for the billing. So it's a beautiful example of that. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great story too. It really is when you say, let me check with my team. I feel like that should be the motto of ABS because I've had to say that so many times, and you'll say it a lot in your first year because you're still learning, but that is your catchphrase for I'm not afraid to answer any question and I'll be fine because I'm going to go back and figure out what the heck you're talking about and then I'll answer you better. So that I use that a lot thanks to your training. It's been wonderful.
Yes, if they ask a question about insurance billing and you're not sure, you say, "Well, let me check with my insurance billing team back at the office," and that's us. And again, since we're kind of a virtual company, just like you, Jade, we run our company several people from their homes. We do have offices, but I mean, there's no need for that nowadays. And so they just go, "Hey, I'll just get back with
True.
my team, and we're the team." All right. Ooh, lots
Absolutely.
of
And,
questions here. I got to get to some of these because we're already
sure, go
halfway through
ahead.
this thing. All right. Here's Lorenzo. He says, "How much money do you make?" Look, instead of answering that, Jade, why don't you just answer in general because the IRS may be on here listening. Who knows? You don't want to tell the truth. Uh, what if what if you just kind of shared with them what kind of money can be made? Give us an example, like of a typical doctor that you have that and the way you charge a percentage and so forth of what you collect.
Absolutely. I'll give you an example of one of my billing accounts, and then I'll give you an example of two of my billing accounts, and then you can kind of do the math as to what the range could be and how many of those you might be able to get.
Let,
And
let
then
me
I'll give you an example of, sure, go ahead.
That's perfect. I do want to hear that. But Lorenzo actually specifically also asked about how long did it take you to pay off your money that you invested in the business. So you might roll that in there too.
Okay, that's another very good question, of course. So with one of my billing accounts, for example, I have one that is that we bill for, and we charge 6%. I also make I do their credentialing too, so I make a little bit more, but I'm going to put that part aside. But we charge this particular account 6% across the board with no other fees. And this account we make about 60,000 a year from this account, just one account. So it's doing very well. Just from
Yes.
that, it allows us, just from that one account, we are able to make payroll for some of our part-time employees. So that's like what we call a growth account because it's a good juicy one that allows us to grow by providing that income. And we have others like that as well. And what's important about what I said is that allowed us to get a couple other part-timers so that we could take on more accounts. And that exponentially opens the door for many more. But we also have a couple of other accounts that are very small. So for example, they're small enough that I tell them, okay, I'm going to charge you 6% or a minimum of $700, whichever is higher. So if they have a really lousy month where they're hardly doing any business, I still know I'm going to make some money because I charge them a minimum. So that's something to keep in mind when you're writing contracts.
Right.
So So that kind of gives you a range. I know sometimes we make even more than the one account I talked about before when it's a really great account. That's just one example. With the credentialing, that one is a little different because I charge a retainer fee. So I charge for a full year in advance, and then I become that client's credentialing. I become their employee for a whole year. So for them, it's really cheap. I only charge for a small practice. I charge about $5,000. So if you can imagine hiring an employee for an entire year for $5,000, that's a bargain, right?
Yes.
So the healthcare providers really go for that because it's reasonable. But yet in my case, whenever I get a new customer, I get that pop up front. So that helps our cash flow quite a bit. Even though I'm stuck with them for a whole year, it just keeps our cash flow open. And then I do a good job for them, hoping that they will renew that $5,000 every year.
Sure.
So that's some supplemental cash that really helps us out as well. And the licensees get a 15% commission on that. So they get a quick, easy pop of money when they bring me an account as well. So that's what I guess you call it, ABS, kind of like mailbox money, something where it just, bingo, you have money in your account and you didn't even do anything. So besides bring the account in. So that's kind of an example without telling you exactly how much money we're making. It shows you that there is a range and you can decide how big you want to go with it. And some people start off small, and I recommend, really getting your first couple of accounts dialed in before you start taking on 20 more. But on the other hand, take those 20 accounts and hire some licensees to help with it. Never turn down business either. So you have to find that sweet spot, I would say.
Yeah, that's a great example, Jade. Now, did you mentioned earlier that you hire some part-time people. Are these people who just work remotely from their homes and you just manage them through
Yes,
virtual connections like this?
that is exactly right. I have one who she's actually a relative, and I know I can trust her, and she graduated from Ohio State in healthcare administration. So she was a shoo-in to be able to help us. And she has family at home and only wants the part-time hours. And so she's able to do the same thing I am. She works from her home, which makes her flexible for her family. And we're able to help other people out that way, which is kind of a feel-good thing. And it makes me feel good from a community standpoint too, because I'm bringing in money from all different states and different clients right here into our little town of Springfield, Ohio. And so we're not only helping ourselves and our family, but we're helping our community to grow as well. And there's a lot to be desired by that.
Absolutely. That's a terrific thing to aim for, is to helping out, keeping the money local, in your case, in Ohio. All right, let's see. Gira, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Gira. I probably am not. But she says, how was the challenge in acquiring your first client? Can you tell us about that first client and how you came about getting the billing client? Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'd like to reiterate that I decided that this plan that ABS laid out for me, I was going to follow it to a T, and I was going to try everything possible and not leave any stone unturned, because I felt like I would never have a reason to complain or say it didn't work if I didn't. So I literally took everything. They give you many different sales techniques in the training, which is what I loved, because number one, it gives you many avenues to go down to try to find opportunities. And number two, some of those may not be in your comfort zone, and you're like, I'm not doing that. And so you can do the other one. So it gives you a lot of choices. And I literally tried everything, and it was difficult because anything that you do for the first time, there's such a learning curve that you have to, you kind of absorb the information, and you go out and talk to people, and you go do this and that. And so it's a lot up front because you have to put the work in up front for it to work. You can't just turn on a switch and expect to start making money.
Right.
Although once you do put in the work, it does pay off. And here's how I got mine. It only took about 4 months. Some people say 4 months. I say only 4 months because, you're talking a medical practice into allowing you to come into their practice and deal with their finances. And that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to make it sound easy by any means, because it was a lot of hard work. What I did was I followed the training, but I also did one unique thing I did that helped me to indirectly get my first client was, And it's one of the techniques that they teach us on how to do this. So the details of how to do it will come in training. But it was a year where they were making some sweeping changes with the way doctors were coding, called ICD-10. They were going from ICD-9 to ICD-10. I won't bore you with those details, but I will tell you it was like Y2K. Everybody was like, is my computer going to blow up? Am I going to be able to see patients anymore? What am I going to do when this coding change happens? A lot of the software wasn't going to work anymore because they had these hard servers where they had to do these big upgrades and all this. So I capitalized on that, and I did a seminar. We have a local university here in Springfield called Wittenberg University, and they allow you to rent space in one of the conference rooms. And so I rented out a conference room, and I found some information online about these changes with ICD-10. Medicare put out some really great information about it. So I just gathered that, put it into some slides in a PowerPoint style presentation. And I sent out over 100 invitations to private healthcare practices in my area. And I thought, boy, if I get one person here, I'll be happy. I just wanted someone to show up. And it actually worked. I had 12 people show up, which was more than 10%. And that was my goal, was 10%, even though, again, deep down, I would have been happy with one. Yeah. But these people showed up because I was told, one of the things we did in our training, I'm going to rewind a little bit, is called warm marketing, where you want to go out and tell everybody you know what you do so they can tell everybody they know what you do so that you'll get a referral somehow. Right. And so during this warm marketing, I had met someone that works with a lot of doctors as a liaison at the hospital. And he said, Jade, one thing that doctors and other healthcare providers really like is free breakfast, because in the mornings, they're out the door. They hardly have time for breakfast. If they're going to do a meeting, they want it to be before work, because when they're done with work at the end of the day, they want to be done. So I found a postcard that had a knife and fork and spoon picture and said free breakfast. And I made it say, all the content with the seminar with ICD-10, you're invited to a free breakfast to learn what to do to move forward in your practice with ICD-10. And what was really cool about it is it said being held at Wittenberg University. So when people saw that, they thought, well, Wittenberg's on board. It must be official information, which it was, because it was through Medicare. And so their perception of it was that I was a professional in the industry. I had a university backing me. I had free breakfast. That was the big one. So people showed up.
That was probably the main reason they came.
I know it was. Probably. But the fact is, they came and they were able to see that I knew what I was talking about. So it also gained me a little bit more positive points in my reputation locally. But it also made me look like the pro here. And so people really respected me. And I ended up getting a referral from that, which ended up being my first customer. And then from that first customer, I got more referrals, and then combined that with partnering with other licensees to get that type of business. And it just has percolated from there. So I think once you get things brewing and you literally start trying every single technique and talking to people and start getting those first clients, then everything sort of falls into place. And from there, it's just digging in, taking the information that you've learned, knowing that it's okay to make mistakes. A claim, if you send it out wrong, they'll tell you and you can resubmit it. So, there are many mistakes that you can make and still be okay. But the point is, that's how I got the first client. And it's definitely not easy, but it's definitely doable if you put your mind to it and follow what ABS shows you how to do it.
Now, I know we've talked before, Jade, but that again, this, of course, I don't even remember what I had for breakfast at this age, but that was brand new information for me, that you had done that educational seminar. That's what we called it in the training, isn't it? We teach you how to do educational lunch and learns in the doctor's office with just their staff, or a public type thing like that, where, we already have slides put together for a lot of different topics that you can use. And we even have a doctor that works with us now, Jade, Dr. Vicki Rackner, that I've written a couple books with.
Yes.
And she will do some of those webinars for licensees. So it's just a great way to get doctors, because they're always wanting to learn something new and keep up on the changes in the industry, right?
Yes, absolutely. That's a big one. And I did do a couple of those lunch and learns as well. Same topic. I had from that breakfast, someone said, "Can you come do this at the office?" And so I would set up at lunch and do it for them as a favor at their office. And you don't necessarily get instant gratification out of that, but you get people talking about you that I was speaking to Jade and she knows all about this, and let me give her your card. And so those things are very helpful.
Right. Yeah, you're building like you said, you're just building the fact in your area that you're the expert that people should come to if they need help with that kind of stuff. And it's a learning process. But we had a licensee recently do one on HIPAA compliance, and that drew a huge crowd to a webinar. They did it virtually on a webinar
Excellent.
like this, and several office managers attended that. He got their registration information and got back with them, started putting them on a follow-up marketing, follow-up plan that we have, and got several of them as clients. Okay, lots
That's
of questions.
great.
Let me get to some of them here. One of them is William is saying, will ABS help us find doctors? William, what we do is we teach you to, the marketing ideas, like you just heard one of them from Jade. We probably teach a 10 or so different ways to go out and market, and some of them will fit your personality. Like she said, she's not big on sales, but most people aren't, and so we have a lot of different ways that you can use, like the educational seminars, like using books as just handing out some books to doctors with some ways that we teach them to market up. Have you used any of our personalized books, Jade?
Yes, I have. Those have been wonderful too, because they show that you have the resources and that you're the professional with that.
Yeah.
And the book is nice just because you showed us. In fact, when I went through the training session, Cynthia Anderson was my trainer, and she's wonderful. She actually went through the book with us to help us highlight specific points in the book so that we could kind of put a sticky note and give it to the provider and say, here, I know you're not going to want to read through the whole book, but here's some points that you should know that will help your practice. And we can offer that to you. So it's a great tool.
Yeah, I was going to put a picture of it here while we're talking up on the screen, because some people don't, it depends on how many of these webinars people have come to. Folks, we do these every Wednesday. And so we've been doing this for 7 or 8 years. There's hundreds of them out there that you could watch. This one may not be one that you have seen, and that's one on how to market. And so here's a picture of that book that she's talking about, The New Thriving Medical Practice, that I wrote with Dr. Vicki Ragnar. And you can put your name on it. Let me see if I can show that here. This is down at the bottom there, as you can see, forward by, but you can put your name there because we've written a forward. It's pretty generic, right? Jay, did you write your own, or did you just use ours?
I wrote my own, actually. Yes.
Good. Yeah. And the CMRM, let's talk about that, because you actually, when you graduate from our training, you're just known as a CMRM, Certified Medical Revenue Manager. And let me show a picture here. I think I've got a picture of when you graduated. Yeah, look at this. Do you remember this? This was when you went through the training.
Yes, I sure do.
There you
That
are.
was a fun week. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, so you're certified, and that just means that you have at least some training that you've been through. That's important because doctors' offices want to know that you're trained. But more than just this training that we give you initially, you have ongoing training. You continually can learn from our webinars for licensees and the material that we post on our private website for licensees, our licensee support website. So it's a continually growing thing, and it never quit learning.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
All right, let's see. So, William, I hope that answers your question. We teach a lot of different ways to market, and instead of just giving you doctors, we show you how to find those doctors in your area, the ones you should be marketing to. There's some specialties that are better than others, and so we teach you how to find those. Let's see. So that was that question. Okay, how about this one? Oh, this one's pretty simple for me. Anthony, well, I'll go more into detail here, folks, at the end of the webinar, but he's saying how much is the investment to start out with. The license fee right now is probably higher than what you paid because it has gone up over the years, is $27,000, $26,990. It's kind of like Walmart. It's always $597, not $6, right? So it's about $27,000. But folks, that's not a big investment to start a business that has the kind of revenue that you've heard from Jade already. one doctor can make you that back in a year's time, right, Jade? 27,000. That's not a big
Yes.
deal. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And as I mentioned, it took me 4 months to get that first client. And then by the time we started, making money and everything, so you could say within a year or so, to be safe. But again, everybody's different. So it depends, maybe you're making it back in a couple months, or maybe it's someone that just didn't feel like trying those different steps and didn't try very hard, and it took them a couple years. So it really depends on that licensee.
Yeah.
But for me, it was in less than a year. Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, how Jessica wants to know, how was marketing discouraging at all?
For me, it always is. It can be, because I just, the sales thing. But then I would constantly surprise myself or be surprised, because I realized that there's a reason why this industry exists, is because healthcare providers need us really bad. And so where I drew my encouragement from would be, I would ignore the ones that would act like they were too busy for me or didn't want to see me, because they obviously had their system. I left them information. But there were so many that were ready to see me, because they would say, do you do credentialing? Because we really need someone. And, oh, okay, great. I felt needed and wanted. So that's when it can be very encouraging. So if you're talking cold calling, that can be discouraging. But as far as just other marketing, for example, warm marketing, where they show you how to talk to everybody you know about what you do, that's really encouraging, because people get excited to hear about what you do, and you feel like, I'm an entrepreneur now, and I feel really excited and proud to tell people about this. So that part of the marketing is exciting. So it really depends on which side of the marketing you're talking about. Again, if you're talking about that difficult cold calling, can be very discouraging sometimes, like any sales. But again, we are well needed in the industry. If you've ever walked into a healthcare provider's office and if you have ever seen the stacks of paperwork, or just how much they need help, those people are the ones that you want to work with, and you will find that they're out there, and that you're encouraged, because they'll roll out the red carpet if you have what they need and you can help their practice grow.
Yeah. Let's see. Wade's asking, how long is the total training process? Now, Wade, I'm going to go a little bit more into detail at the end, but in case you don't stick around that long, she went through a week's training here in Dallas, probably 5 days, right, Jade? Yeah.
Yes,
And
exactly
she had
right.
to, of course, set aside time for that, fly down here, get a hotel. There were a lot of costs involved in that. Jade, we've moved to virtual training now. It's
Wonderful.
it's still live. And by the way, Cynthia is doing a lot of that training, who is a licensee, as you know, up in
Great.
the Arizona area. She still does that, but it's one-on-one with people. So they have one-on-one
Okay.
time, 10 to 12 hours. We get through the basic material that you set through in that class. Of course, we eliminate all the lunches and the breaks and the questions and so forth. But they
Yes.
get to ask her directly questions that they want answered too. So the people who've gone through it and graduated say it's much better than they ever dreamed that online training could be. And then, like I say, we offer licensee webinars on a constant basis to continually train people. So I'll bet on our licensee website right now, there's over probably 50 or 60 hours of additional training that people can go through on their own time. So
Yes.
anyway, so Wade,
And
it
that
basically,
includes other topics.
what's that? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I was going to say that also includes topics on things that aren't even a part of your package. But for example, the credentialing, I keep talking about other opportunities. There are a few things out there to show you how to branch out and do other things as well. So a lot of great material. Yes.
Yes, in fact, Jade and I are going to do a webinar here together for licensees, teaching them a little bit about credentialing, and then of course offering her ability to do that for them if they want to. That's what's great about this network that you're in. We're the nation's largest network of independent medical billing companies, and there's all kinds of licensees that can share all kinds of things with the other licensees. So Wade, you can go through the training. It's only about 10 to 12 hours of the live one-on-one training with our instructor. And that's done around your schedule, usually about, 1 or 2 sessions a week. So generally within a month's time, you could be through the entire thing. Somebody said on here something about Rahel says 4 months training will make us ready to pick up the work. I'm not sure where that 4 month came in. Maybe somebody told you that, but it can be done in as little as 1 month's time. But it's an ongoing process to learn, uh, everything there is about this industry. We call it a mini MBA in the medical billing. That's what we give you. But it's enough to get started, obviously. Jay did.
Yes, absolutely.
Brock's asking about how many doctors you have. How long did the timeline go in building to that point? Give us just a feel. You can be as general as you want there, Jade, about that, but give people a feel for what you have done, and you can include, of course, all of your clients.
Sure. I work with um, both the billing and the credentialing side. And so without having it right in front of me, I'm going to estimate that I work with at least 25 different medical practices right now. So some of them I do billing for, and some I just do credentialing for, and others I do both.
Yeah.
And they're all over the United States too. So in all of them I work remotely, which is wonderful. I actually have kind of a joke that I don't even want to work for people in my own town because they'll expect to see me all the time. I want to work remotely for people and train them that no, I'm not coming into the office. And I always tell them, I can come to your office for 2 hours, but that's probably at least 50 claims that are not going out for you for the day. And so it really drives it home that it's important to save. The healthcare providers could hire people to do their billing in-house, but they're talking a huge expense to employ someone and pay for their vacation and health insurance and all that. So, it becomes a bargain to hire us to do that. But yeah, that's how many people I'm dealing with right now. So.
Great. Rosalind wants to know, what type of medical practices do you work with?
That's a great question. Some people kind of get nervous, like the specialist, I don't know anything about this or that. But once you start to work with one particular field, it becomes old hat, and you can start using that. Like, oh, I specialize in podiatry because you have one or two, so you can talk a little better and capitalize on that. But we are all over the place. One of our bigger accounts is behavioral health. They're a community mental health facility. I have a pediatrician. She just delivers babies in a hospital. I have my favorite is the family practice. That's my absolute favorite. They are busy. They do great amount of money. I have a couple of those, as well as I have practices that have been in pulmonology. I have podiatry. Let me see what else I'm forgetting. Pain medicine is a big one. I have several concentrated in an area. Physical therapy is another big one. I have little pockets of customers in different areas because once I do a good job for one, they start to refer me to other practices, or there might be an office manager that talks to other office managers. But so I'll get little pools of them, and I have several, physical therapy practices, that type of thing in one area.
Yeah.
It's a wide range.
Oh, sure. It's always, every time I talk to a licensee, I'm amazed at the different types. There must be literally, we have a list, but there must be 50, 60 different specialties in the medical field. I didn't know that when I
Easily.
Yeah, when my wife and I started doing billing back in the early 90s, that's how long we've been doing this. We just didn't dream that there were that many. We thought general practitioners is all we'd ever been to, so yeah. Now here's a good one from KG. He says, how long did you get business from, no, how can you get business from a practitioner who already has his own biller and is happy with them? Well, you may not, right?
That's true, you may not, but some people will say that they're happy with someone and they're not, or they don't know. For example, they'll say, I'm happy with my biller, but they might only have this other system that's just software that has like these random people in the corporation that help with the billing, and they think we're doing okay. But once you evaluate their system and give them the numbers that they're looking for to show them how you can help them, which ABS, by the way, teaches you how to do that practice analysis. once you show them what their own pain points are and what they're missing and what you can do for them, that's how you're able to obtain that business. You usually say, you know, if you heard them talking about how, yeah, I have someone doing it, I'm happy with them, they're cool, but I know that they don't know how to do secondary insurances though, or leaving a lot of money on the table or things like that. You just pick up on their pain points and you say, hey, our system automatically does those secondaries, and we just research on the back end to make sure that they were paid properly, et cetera, et cetera. And you can find ways to address their pain points. Or it may be like Patrick said, maybe you feel like you're not going to get them, and so you move on. But you'll have that.
Yeah.
Oh, you probably hear, I don't know, you might hear my business partner in the background, my dog. I figured at some time he would start growling at us.
He doesn't like the fact that you're not paying attention to him.
That's exactly right. He's a husky, and they rule the world.
Jade, we're going to wrap it up. Here we are. An hour went by pretty fast. I've still got some questions here I'm going to address, folks. If you want to stay on, I'm going to address all these. You got on here to get your questions answered. I'm going to do that. But Jade, thank you very much for your time. You've been a real blessing, I'm sure, to a lot of people. And hopefully they become licensees and can, get on some of the webinars you and I do for licensees.
Well, I wish you all the best of luck, and thank you so much for having me. I enjoy talking about it, and I hope that you all become licensees. It's a great way to be. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget to, mute your phone on your computer there. We'll hear you talking to your dog.
Yep. Okay. Right. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. Wasn't that great, folks? Hey, it doesn't get any more real than this. Y'all hear the dog growling? Isn't that great? Hey, it's a live webinar. Now, you're seeing a picture there. Ooh, I didn't mean to show all the other slides there on the side. Let me get rid of that. There we go. Well, I'm showing the marketing materials, folks, because some of you haven't done your research yet on our website to find out why is this opportunity $27,000? Well, it's because it's a business. You're buying a complete turnkey system, including the thousands of dollars we've put into developing some of the materials that you see there on your screen. Postcards, presentation folders, and of course, all the materials that we've developed over the last 25 years are actually being used by licensees to sign up doctors. And it's being constantly tested and so forth. And by the way, I showed one of the other books that you see there on the screen, if you look carefully, is this one. Let me hold it up here to the camera. See if I can get that where you can read that. 10 critical questions for physicians in private practice. And the one single choice that can, I can't even read it, that can help your practice to prosper and grow. It's backwards on my screen. So now the one single choice that Dr. Vicki Ratner, who wrote the book, there's the book, my son wrote the foreword to it. This is a marketing tool as well. And the single choice she made, of course, was to outsource her billing. So here you have a book from a doctor that you can leave behind for a doctor to read that has all these questions that she's come up with that are very critical to running a medical practice. And she also says, hey, by the way, the one thing I did was to outsource my billing. So it's a great referral book. You can have your name and address printed on the back there. There's Dr. Vicki's little blurb. But as you can see below that, we have space. And we print these books. Yeah, and it's called print on demand. So we can print 25. You get 25 to start with your package as a marketing tool, just like you do that other one I showed you. And you can put all your contact information on there and give it out. It's like a business card for your business. You're showing them that you are the expert, that you are associated with a doctor, and that you are basically sharing good educational information with them. So Zerona, to answer your question, can you be a license and grow into an owner? Well, as a licensee, when you purchase our license, you are the owner of that business. So not sure if that cleared that up for you or not, but Rahel, you're talking a little bit more about the marketing used or touched on by ABS. The materials that you see there, we teach you how to use each one of those in the marketing. There's marketing flyers, there's postcards. We have a postcard program that you can send out. We have lots of different ways to market. One of them that she mentioned, of course, was cold calling. Well, we don't recommend that at all. That's not taught. We do recommend that you go to some of those buildings, in your area that might have all of it is just medical offices, and you start on the top floor and you go down the bottom floor, just grabbing their business card and walking in, and maybe leaving one of the flyers or one of the books, but you're just gathering their business card so you have some contact information. And then we teach you how to follow up with that on a follow-up system that keeps your name in front of them and tells them what you can do. So it's, it can be completely automated if that's the way you want it to be. It'll take you longer to get a client that way probably than going out and meeting some people and talking to them, or doing one of those seminars like Jay did, but you can build it any way you want to. Again, whatever fits your personality. Rael's asking about if people from other countries can go for the training. Yes, they can do it. Again, it's online, it's virtual, and so no matter where you're at in the world, of course, you could do the training through the internet. Let's see, I didn't get to all the details of Brock's question there about the timeline, how long it took Jade to actually get those 25 doctors that she works with. But hey, I'm sure that Jade would not mind taking a call from any of you that wanted to call her direct. I tell you what, why don't you get back with the person who invited you to this, and I'm going to give you our phone number right now. I'll just put it up here on the screen so you see it. There's the website if some of you haven't viewed that like you should have, or maybe you somehow got to this webinar without going to the website. It has a lot of details about the whole business on there as well. And Alma, you'll see that the price, again, I mentioned earlier, was $27,000. That's the investment. And that ongoing fees of any kind, even for the support and the training. Never. That's right. It's a lifetime thing. Oh, and we have a guarantee too. Let me put that up on the screen here. Let's see. I got a picture of it here somewhere. Here we go. Look at this. Folks, we're the only medical billing company that I know of that offers 100% money back guarantee. Now, there's others out there that do something similar that'll train you in some way to do medical billing. But folks, we tell you, if you've gone through our training and for some reason you just don't think this is the right business for you, all you have to do is tell us, and we will give you all of your money back. Don't know how to be more fair than that. And that is a written guarantee that's in the agreement that you signed with us. And yes, we have given people money back. I hate to say that that's happened, but there have been people who've gotten money back in the past 25 years, probably a handful of people. And that's only because maybe something personal in their life that came up. We had one guy that went through the training. His wife didn't know he was spending the money. And so when she found out, she said, you better ask for that money back or you'll be sleeping on the couch. So that's what happens there. KG says, what if their biller is already updated with the latest technology? KG, it's a whole lot more, of course. Taking over the billing for a doctor is a lot more than just whether or not they have the latest technology. It has a lot to do with whether or not those claims actually get paid. And you'll find that a lot of people working for doctors are not collecting but about maybe 60 or 70% of the money that's due to the doctor. Why? Because for them, there's no incentive. For you, you get a percentage of every dollar collected for the doctor. And our system has a first pass rejection on claims of only about 2%. In other words, 98% of the claims go through. A lot of systems will lose that, and it's way down there. It could be anywhere from 5% for some systems up to 30%. So the doctors usually are leaving money on the table, and you can help collect that money for those doctors. Yeah. So again, folks, thank you for being on the webinar today. I think I mentioned earlier the certificate that you get. There it is, as a certified medical revenue manager. That's issued by MIRMA, that organization I mentioned earlier. And I'm just going to get right on down here and talk to you about the training. If you want to get involved, I'm going to put our phone number back on the screen. Remember, you can get back with the person who sent you the email to this, or just call our number and say, hey, I'm interested. What do I do? What do I need to do paperwork-wise to get started? And that training can be started within a week. That's right. We will schedule a live one-on-one training session with a live certified trainer for ABS within a week. And then, like I said earlier, if you schedule it right, according to how quickly you get through the material and so forth, you can get finished within 30 days. So, folks, it's up to you as to how long that takes, but you can certainly get started pretty quick. Okay, so if you're interested, you want to find more, call our number. push number 1 to find out more about the opportunity, and go to our website there and browse it. There's lots and lots of material there about it.